Have you ever wondered what would happen if you could change the thread of space and time and alter it and figure out what would have happened in wrestling or, I guess, in life if this guy wouldn't have said, hey, come on down to LA and do some voiceovers for this thing that I'm working on called Machinima.
No, I've never thought that.
This might not be a thing. Well, I think the Friendos, they've thought about this a lot because we put out a thread that asked them, what are some of the biggest wrestling what ifs? And boy, oh boy.
There's a lot of them.
They had quite a few of them.
There's a lot of them.
What's the first one?
From Darius the Great. What if AJ Styles had accepted WWE's developmental deal in 2002 and come up in the peak of the ruthless aggression era with guys like Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, etc.? Air Styles, who's a member of WWE.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have done the run in Ring of Honor. Obviously, wouldn't have done TNA.
Yeah.
And he was one of the cornerstones of TNA from its inception. In addition, of course, Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
And to have a wrestler of his caliber wrestling with the likes of Eddie and Kurt Angle and whatnot would have been a massive get for WWE, especially, they already had that class of 2002 from OVW, Cena, Brock, Randall Keith Orton, Dave Batista, potentially add AJ Styles into that mix. That'd have been something else.
It'd have been interesting. I don't know. That's such a massive change because I don't know what being under WWE's style of wrestling, their house style,
if you will, yes.
How that would have changed, because obviously going to TNA and then going to New Japan, I don't know that he'd be the same wrestler known for the same stuff that he's known for. He really did craft his style while, obviously outside of WWE. And then he brought all that brand that he had said. The thing about AJ is that nobody crafted their brand outside of WWE like he did.
Yeah.
That was kind of unprecedented.
Yeah.
And so, when he got there, he had taken everything that he did outside WWE. So, honestly, there's the short answer is there's kind of no way to tell. I guess one of them, even when you look at Danielson, he was hired and fired in 2001. And then it wasn't until, 2010 that he was brought in for, the Nexus stuff?
Yep.
And by that time, he had already spent at least 10 years.
Yeah, in the Indies and Ring of Honor.
In the Indies and Ring of Honor. Yep. So, I don't know. And on top of that, AJ wasn't as, large as the other wrestlers from that 2002 class. Yeah. So, he would have really... And it's not like his promo was, off the charts good either.
No, he would have stood out from, via his wrestling ability.
If he would have been able to develop that in the same manner that he did outside WWE, then otherwise...
he's already Air Styles, so.
That was a tag team.
Yeah, him and Air Paris in WCW.
What if Air Paris had been brought into... I'm sorry, what if Paris... I don't know who the Paris guy... I don't know Paris's name.
I don't know either. Air Paris.
Let's see here. Next up, Shay asks, what if HBK, Shawn Michaels, never hurt his back and was out of commission for 4 years? What would DX in the Attitude Era have looked like? So this is interesting because we also had a conspiracy theory that said they didn't believe, and I forget who it was, and I apologize, that said HBK didn't actually hurt his back. He sort of exaggerated it. Yeah. Which I don't know. It is interesting because I think that the reason why I think that's bunk, that theory could be debunked, is because... So unlike Brett, I don't think Brett would have lasted too long in the Attitude Era. I think that the Attitude Era wasn't really a Bret Hart thing. I know that the Hart Foundation was there, but when it really kicked into gear in 98, it just didn't seem suited for Bret Hart.
It didn't seem to be a speed, no.
DX was really over.
You could say they were kind of one of the groups that instigated the whole Attitude Era thing.
Right. They were sort of the seed for the Attitude Era, all the crotch shopping and showing off their asses. And then putting their D's in little socks
stuff,
and Christmas stockings,
yes.
So I don't know. I kind of feel like that the back problem was probably a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, you see the spot and you see his reaction to the spot in that casket match with Undertaker. It looks like he hurt himself.
Yeah, right. And on top of that, like, there's no reason for him to have left. It probably killed him to like have to leave during the Attitude Era and see what happened. I don't know. I think we just would have had like a super souped up DX. The interesting thing would be at that point, though, like, I know it took Triple H another 2 years to get to that main event spot. And I know that, like, Shawn Michaels was fine, like, sharing the top spot with Diesel and Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
Would they have been, would Triple H have been able to ascend as high as he did if HBK was still around?
What they might have done was, the night after, the Raw after WrestleMania 14, where Triple H is like, all right, DX under new leadership. You bring in people, you call your friends, you call on the click. X-Pac shows up.
Yeah.
What precedes that, though, is Triple H is like, hey, Sean,
you
didn't get the job done.
Yeah.
Bang, pedigree.
Oh, yeah. So here's what I think. They just would have made the entire main event scene about them.
Yeah.
They would have cut out like Austin and Rock as much as they can.
Exactly.
Especially Rock. I don't think they liked Rock.
It would have been their feud for a year and a half. Just feuding
3 years.
straight.
Exactly.
All in the main event scene.
Irish Insight.
There you go. What if Starrcade 97 finish? What if the Starrcade 97 finish with the way it was supposed to?
So, to recap, Starrcade 97, the story was supposed to be the finish to Hogan Sting was Hogan pins Sting, but the ref does a fast count.
Not just any ref.
Nick Patrick, NWO ref.
Yes.
Sting. Bret Hart comes down, and to atone for the sins of Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah, also in a way, WrestleMania 9.
Right. Yeah. He comes down and he fixes it so that, that they restart the match or whatever.
Yeah.
Sting wins.
Yeah.
They didn't do a fast count.
It's Hogan politicked.
Bret Hart, Hogan told Nick Patrick not to.
Yeah.
Bret Hart still came down and acted like it did, and things still played out as if that was a fast count.
Yeah, and so the following Thunder, I think.
Yeah.
They vacated the title. Sting won it from Hogan, or Sting beat Hogan to win it again at Super Brawl in February. So it's not like, in terms of a macro sense, a whole lot of creative plans seemingly changed.
Yeah, they just, the funny thing is, I don't even remember, like, I was relatively new to wrestling at the time. Mm-hmm. And, like, when they said, it was a fast count, here comes Bret Hart, I just bought into it. I was like, it must have been a fast count.
Oh, there you go.
I didn't notice if it was a fast count. I'm like, oh, man, that's sneaky Hogan and his NWO ref.
Yeah.
Counting a normal 3 count.
Nick Patrick,
How dare he?
Maybe half a fraction of a second faster than usual.
That's a pretty slow fast count right there.
It really is, Matt, to see what his normal count is.
Yeah. AJ Rods. It's like one of the AAA refs. AJ Rod says, what if Booker T won at WrestleMania against Triple H? You know what, man? At least Triple H, he didn't have to make Booker T sell that finish so much. Because it was the pedigree. And
then it was like 18 seconds
before it was like
covered.
Forever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It was so long.
It was ridiculous. No, Booker T should have won that match.
Yeah, he should have won that match. I mean, you sort of understand what they were doing. Like, they just wanted Triple H to be ultimate bad guy, but it was dumb. They should have had Booker T win that match. I don't think. Look, here's the thing. I know they did like a multi-man match after that.
Yeah.
That Triple H's team won also. But like, I don't know. The thing is, like, whenever Triple H lost the title, like when he would put over somebody like Orton, eventually Triple H gets it back anyway.
I know.
So like, he could have lost to Booker T, and then like at the next pay-per-view got it back.
Yeah.
And then you still have a huge WrestleMania moment.
Exactly.
And the historical context, et cetera, is there. But no, that was a misfire.
Massive misfire.
Yeah.
Tony, the Pokemon guy, says, what if WWE decided to keep Mania one super long show instead of 2 nights, which was the best and most popular decision to do in a long time when it came to wrestling shows?
Would we dread WrestleMania?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like how we are with AEW pay-per-views now. It's like, oh, man.
Sitting there for 7 hours watching the show and having to do a recap afterward of a 7-hour show. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, what if? Well, that sucks. That would suck.
That'd be lame. I wouldn't have the energy for that.
I'll be honest, at this point, I want all big pay-per-views to be 2 nights.
Two night, 3-hour shows.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's perfect, the perfect size.
That really is. Jose Alaguna says, what if WWE gave Edge's push to Christian and Christian was the one who ended up leaving? Would Christian have done more with those opportunities?
Oh, if Edge was the one who ended up leaving, would Christian have done more of those opportunities? So let me ask you this before we answer this what if. Why do you think Vince saw Edge as the guy out of Christian and Edge? Was it size, his look? I mean, his look, they're two, white dudes with long blonde hair.
Yeah.
Like, was there something specific about them that, like, my God, was it because he was like 4 inches taller? Which I think he is.
He is taller.
He's a tall guy.
Yeah, and I would be surprised that didn't play some role.
Yeah.
The fact that he's taller, because in terms of their pairing, I don't think either one necessarily stood out from the other in terms of comedic timing, charisma, wrestling chops, even.
Yeah.
Like, as a unit, they seem to be on pretty equal footing, save for Edge was a couple inches taller and maybe 30 pounds heavier.
I think literally that's it. Because I actually do think that Christian has some of that more. I think he's got more of that natural camera charisma. Yeah. And that's a subjective thing. I think that could be debated. But I do think that he has a bit more of that look, that thing. Yeah. But Edge, once Christian cut his hair and was coming out, he was like thin. He was not an imposing looking guy, and Edge kind of always was. He was tall.
Yeah.
He had more meat on him. He was more muscular.
Yeah.
And he does. I mean, he has a great look to him. He's a great looking guy and everything. He's got the camera charisma. But I wonder if it's just that.
Could be. Could be.
I think I'll put it this way. I do think that maybe Edge leaving, if he had gone to like TNA, because typically in TNA they didn't have like a ton of WWE sized guys.
Yeah,
he might have, because Christian was really successful in TNA,
massively.
But he might have been more successful in TNA than Christian was in TNA.
Yeah, could be. We can have Adam Copeland in AEW right now.
Right, exactly.
Paired up with Luchasaurus.
Yeah.
We got a couple questions about the Nexus, or what ifs about the Nexus. First here from Anthony. Says, this happened back at Undertaker and Kane's Buried Alive match when the Nexus attacked the Undertaker. What if Wade Barrett was the one to defeat the Undertaker and break the streak? There have been a couple times where it seemed like Wade Barrett was on the ascent.
Yeah.
There was this spell. There was Bad News Barrett, and he had a lot of bad luck.
He had bad luck and injuries. I don't know. This is one of those things where I think Wade Barrett had everything, but like I'd have to see. There's certain guys like Damian Sandow. I can see it, even though he never succeeded to the degree that I think he could have or should have.
Yeah,
I could totally see it. I could see him carrying that big gold belt.
Yeah,
it like fits that guy.
Yeah.
Wade Barrett, I'd have to see the success to
believe it.
And I think he's got it. I just would have to see it first.
Yeah, I wonder if he were wrestling now in the current day WWE, how he would have fared. I don't know how far back the whole scripted promo thing went, but you hear him on commentary now. He sounds looser, more relaxed.
Yeah.
A lot of times more believable.
Yeah, when you're older, that happens.
Yeah, but also he's not reading from he doesn't have lines scripted for him. So just in terms of his promo and his delivery, I wonder if that would be different nowadays if he's not handed dialogue to memorize. And
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you swap out, and I don't know what their timelines are like, but if you swap out Sheamus for Wade Barrett, couldn't you see like Wade Barrett having the exact same career?
Yeah.
Like he would be leading the Brawling Brutes right now.
Yeah.
I could totally see that. And he might have gone through a phase where everybody's like, God, I hate this guy.
Yeah.
Like
possibly.
Get him off my TV.
Possibly.
I could see that, but then I could see everybody coming back around to him by now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could see that being the case. And I never would have wanted Sheamus to beat the Undertaker streak. So I don't think it would have worked regardless. And then there's this one also. This is probably a bigger one than that. Cream Review says, First thing that came to mind was, what if the Nexus won the 7-on-7 tag match at SummerSlam? I maintain that John Cena was in the right on that one, Larson. I think that John Cena was absolutely correct in going to Vince and saying, these guys shouldn't win. Besides Wade Barrett, who else is on that team, really?
There's there's 6 other people in it.
I know there are 6 other people, but really.
David Otunga, Justin Gabriel.
Correct.
Heath Slater, I think.
Correct.
Skip Sheffield.
AKA.
Ryback.
Right.
So there's 2 more I'm missing. There's
Darren Young. Did you get him?
Darren Young, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
And then it doesn't matter. Like it's dude, here's the thing, man. Could those guys have been made into something because of this? Possibly.
Answer's yes, it could have.
I don't know that they would have though. Like again, I see it with like Wade Barrett more than I see it with those guys. Because it's not like any of them besides Ryback, who broke out in a pretty major way. I don't know. I don't really see it.
I mean, there's this, and there's also Wade losing at TLC and literally getting buried under a pile of chairs. I mean, it's hard to come back from that.
It is.
It's tough.
It is, but like, I don't know. I just don't think. I don't know. It's not like the Shield. It's not like this was like 7 dudes who could have been the next Shield. The proto Shield.
I mean, the Shield were booked really well from the very beginning. So
because they had everything.
But what if they had a humiliating loss early on in their run? Would they ever be able to recover from that?
Yeah, because come on, man, it's Tribal Chief. Look at that guy. Because here's the thing. This is actually proof in the pudding. One guy did recover. Ryback. He did recover because he had that thing
for a little bit.
Oh, come on.
For a little
years. He had a decade-long run.
No.
Chew World Order said, what if Vince, let me ask you something. Knowing now, if you knew then what you know now, and you quantum leaped into Vince.
Yeah.
Would you have overruled Cena and been like, no, you're going to lose to
I would have made sure that Daniel Bryan was on the Nexus team again and have the Nexus win.
All right. Fair enough. Chew World Order says, what if Vince had been more fascinated with in-ring and promo abilities than looks? Hey, guess what? Well, there was a time when Vince was more fascinated with in-ring.
The sweet science of professional wrestling.
Take a look at the Bob Backlund years.
Yeah.
He was fascinated with it, and that shit was boring. And Backlund couldn't talk a lick. I think Vince was he was more fascinated with. I think once Hogan came around, he was fascinated with promo. I think promo was a big thing.
Yeah, I think for him it was he liked his large muscular men that had huge characters.
Yeah, right.
And part of that is you got to be able to drop a promo in character.
Right.
And I think once he saw that there was money in that, as opposed to a more sports-centric approach to the in-ring product, which focused on the in-ring work, he decided to go that route, where everybody, based on either their physique or their personality, was an attraction, as opposed to someone who could put on a 5-star classic.
Right.
Well, that's the direction he went, because that's where the money was.
If Bob Backlund main evented WrestleMania, it would have failed miserably.
Yep.
So there's your answer. Optimus Crime says, what if Sting and Goldberg went to WWE in 2001 and were part of the Invasion storyline?
I mean, it would have helped a lot. It would have been more interesting if the Invasion was strictly, WCW versus WWE.
Yeah, right.
You didn't have people that were in WWE, crossover to become part of the Alliance, and then ECW get involved in it. If it was just strictly the Monday Night War played out in storyline and WWE programming, it probably would have been far more interesting.
Do you think they would have needed... Because, I think the main guys are Sting, Goldberg, Hogan, Flair, Hall, and Nash, probably. Mm-hmm. Those 6 guys. If it's those 6 guys, then that storyline would have been... That kind of writes itself.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Because then that WrestleMania, it's just dream match after dream match after dream match. Or I guess the Invasion pay-per-view, which, was still, a massive success. Yeah. In terms of, commercially speaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, even if you get Sting and Goldberg, I think that helps a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll never know.
Yep, never will. Tom of the Pop says, what if Vince was actually convicted in the steroid trial and got prison time? I mean, I guess Jerry Jarrett would have been running things for a while.
That was the rumor.
Yeah.
Jerry Jarrett would have been running things. I don't think a whole lot would have changed. I mean, he probably would have just done what Vince wanted him to do, and then when Vince got, I don't, because what was, do we know like what the likely scenario was for how much time Vince would have served? I don't think it would have been that much.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Something, let's say it was under 5 years.
He would have been back in, because that was 94.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would have changed a lot.
That would have changed. It's like right in the midst of the Attitude Era.
Probably wouldn't. Yeah, I doubt we would have gotten the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I don't think we would have, because
Jeff Jarrett at the top.
Yeah, no. And I don't, Jerry Jarrett may not have screwed Brett out of the title, so never would have got Mr. Jarrett as the heel.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Mr. Jarrett. David Bruce says, what if TNA/Impact gambled on Brock Lesnar? So I had to look this one up, and apparently in 2007, after obviously 3 years after his departure, and still like 5 years before he came back.
2012 he came back.
Yeah, so 5 years before he came back, Brock Lesnar hit up Kurt Angle, was like, hey Kurt, how much you make another TNA? And he told him, and then he said, well, can you get them to pay me that? And then he tried, and then TNA was like, no. Here's my speculation. Brock would not have been the star that he was in WWE after he came back.
No, not at all.
I don't think so.
No. I mean, part of when he went to the UFC and won the title,
yeah,
that added so much legitimacy.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
To what he became in his second run in WWE.
Yeah.
That if he had just gone to TNA rather than doing that, I mean, he would have done well in TNA, and if he had gone back to WWE, it's still, Brock Lesnar's back. But
yeah,
former UFC World Heavyweight Champion Brock Lesnar.
If it was one or the other, then you're absolutely right. If it was both, I don't know. It might just be seen as sort of a footnote, like his New Japan run,
Yeah.
Straw Hat Jose says, what if the pandemic never happened? Would Roman still become the tribal chief? Yes, because apparently it was. It didn't have anything to do with the pandemic. It had to do with the dog food match.
With dog food.
It was. He was like, "This is stupid. I'm not doing this anymore." Vince, if you want my services, you'll do things my way. And we're doing this with Heyman.
Yep, and they crafted a pretty impressive character and story, and look where we're at 3.5 years
So
later.
really the question is, what if dog food never existed?
Like ever? What are dogs going to eat?
Gypsy, what are you going to eat, bud?
Are they going to be hunters yet again?
She's sleeping right now.
Probably not then.
And we'll end on this one for this week. The Robserver says, what if the Iron Sheik had accepted Vern Gagne's offer of $100,000 to break Hulk Hogan's leg during their title match in early '84? So that's what Iron Sheik had alleged. I don't know if this was substantiated, but it wouldn't surprise me. Wrestling is a pretty brutal industry, especially back then.
Yeah, and that's in the midst of Vince doing his nationwide takeover. And if Vern was trying to put an end to that or sabotage it by having Iron Sheik break Hogan's leg during the title bout, I mean, that could have been a pretty humiliating a series of events for WWE when they have their new top guy they're trying to anoint, and then Iron Sheik snaps his leg mid-match.
Fully engorged.
I was going to mention that. Fully engorged. And
what's going on?
And stands over him.
What's going on over there? This guy with a massive erection just broke the leg of this Hulk Hogan character. What's happening there in New York?
I know.
Everybody come to Minneapolis.
It's headlines for all the wrong reasons, you know.
right, exactly. So I don't think that butterfly effect would have led to Vern Gagne being the next Vince McMahon. No. I think that Vince probably just would have had Hulk Hogan heal up and
try it again in '85.
Try it again in '85, exactly. Anyways, drop us some of your favorite wrestling what ifs in the comments below, and if we don't get to them in the next volume, maybe we'll get to them down the line, exactly. And do us a favor, hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and check out Patreon, patreon.com/Stephen Larson, all sorts of stuff over there to help support the Friendo Club.
Indeed.
See you around.
Bye.